Yeah, I lost my father when I was 9 years old to suicide. He was a very heavy drinker, and also lost my brother 3.5 years ago to suicide, who was also a very heavy drinker. Had bouts of long period in my own life where I had ideation. Never been too heavy into drinking, but I don't mind having a drink, healthy drinking. Say almost with my father and brother, almost 100%. I think that without the alcohol addiction, both of them would be alive. It's hard to separate complex connections between it all, but I think that if my father hadn't have taken his life, my brother and the effects of adverse childhood experiences from alcoholism, including the suicide, greatly affected both of us in many ways. But yeah, I think that both my brother and father were severely intoxicated when they took their life too. So I don't think that either of them in a non-drunk state would have done what they did. I guess my father's alcoholism was quite extreme. My mother had MS at the time too. So because of his alcoholism, my mother was not really able to look after us very well because of her MS, which led to a lot of neglect from us, and neglect for my mother. My mother probably could have stayed in the family home if my father wasn't so alcoholic and dependent on alcohol. We probably could have stayed a bit longer in that family environment. So our whole childhood was severely disrupted by that. Again, hard to separate between what's the effect of suicide, which is the effect of alcoholism, but the adverse childhood experiences that led in my own life, anxiety, lots of things from growing up having them severe repeated traumas happen. And then I dare say with my brother's children, it's a very similar situation. I think that the impacts of being worried about drunk people around you and suicide is severely impactful. Even I remember as a child being picked up by my father who was severely drunk and just that very unstable feeling that I could be dropped. So yeah, lots of memories and things like that. I guess the alcohol industry's hard because I think it's very much run by profits, isn't it? So it's in their interest to have people addicted to alcohol and drinking as much as they can because that brings them more money. But I'd like to believe that we still live in a world that's somewhat bound by ethics as well. And it makes no sense if your clients, your customers end up being dead, then they're not consuming anymore, are they? But I think policymakers, I think there's a lot of tax on alcohol, like a lot of tax, and I know that a lot of that funds does go into the impacts of alcohol. But I feel that there needs to be more advertising. There needs to be more knowledge that I'm aware of. Like, but a lot of people aren't. I think like alcohol's a depressant, so if you have depression, that can exacerbate that majorly. Things like anger, how I'm reading recently about the omega-3 deficiency that comes with alcoholism, and that leads to increased violence and anger. I don't think these things are very generally known in the public. We know that it makes you angry or, can make you sad, but we don't, it's not really drilled into people like the smoking campaign, how it impacts your health, how it impacts your mental health, and the ramifications. Like, I do believe alcohol's involved in a fairly high percentage of suicides. So these links, I think, need to be made more aware through campaigns by the government, like they do with drink driving. Because I think that there just needs to be a lot more action from government to drill in these effects, the anxiety, depression, suicidality, that it can be kind of at times, it can be a healthy way to suppress or to numb out a little bit from life stresses, but there's also a line that can be crossed, and there needs to be more support services and more things in place other than just Alcohol Anonymous, because that doesn't work for everyone. I think the lived experience sector with them things is also a powerful thing, which is why Alcohol Anonymous works so well, but that setting doesn't work for everyone. So more programs where there is access to maybe talk to peer workers that have been through them addictions or lived experience that can share them insights that can help people feel less isolated from their pain.